hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. Elliot Shore Parks, James Seltzer with you. 9-2 and no
good.
problem. We saw the best game an Eagles running back has ever played by the best Eagles running back we've ever seen in the midst of the best season we've ever seen by an Eagles running back. As they kept saying on the broadcast, a top 10 rushing game in the history of football by any running back.
Not bad.
I mean, like the defense after, a sputter start shut down everyone other than Puka Nacua essentially. And, just they didn't make mistakes. Injuries are something we'll talk about. That's like the one thing we really come out of this being like, ooh, they got banged up. But man, they went to the West Coast and just flat out handled business. They won by 17, and that last touchdown was a throwaway. I mean, that was awesome, Elliot. They were awesome tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a professional, thorough, impressive, dominating win by the Eagles. That was
against a solid team that needed it.
Yeah, against a team that really needed it, against the team that I thought would put up a better fight than they did. And to be fair, I think the Rams wanted to put up a fight. I don't think they didn't show up tonight. I think the Eagles are just way better. I mean, look, honestly, man, the Giants belong in jail for what they did to the first 4 years of Saquon's career.
Especially now that they cut Jones and that didn't work out.
It's criminal. I mean, dude, if he starts his career with the Eagles, and I know this is hyperbolic, but whatever, he's probably already a Hall of Famer. It's insane what he can do with competent, and it's more than competent talent, to be clear. He has electric talent all over the field, which certainly helps him. The offensive line was great. I mean, some of these runs today, clearly they're special runs by him. He has breakaway speed. He makes people miss, but he gets 140 yards just because the line is so good and he's so good that he basically runs
just
untouched.
Hits the hole and goes. Yeah.
And the breakaway speed that he has is truly amazing. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
He had 302 yards tonight. That's absurd.
And also,
think about that.
Elliot, also the breakaway speed and also how quickly he goes fast.
It's insane.
How quick his momentum. It's almost like he's guaranteed 5 to 8 yards just because he's going so fast so quickly, Yeah,
well, and especially at his size, which I know we say, which it feels like after every game, but he's just absurd. He's one of the best players in the NFL. And look, if this doesn't put him in the MVP conversation tonight, I don't know what will. Prime time, 300 yards.
I don't know if it'll happen or not because it's a quarterback award, but I think anyone who's watched this team every week can safely say he is clearly the MVP of this team and absolutely deserves to be in the discussion with any quarterback out there. He won't be, but he should be.
Well, I disagree a little bit. I think a game like this in a national spotlight, it would not surprise me at all if the conversation tomorrow on all the national shows is, does Saquon deserve to be in the MVP consider? Would you do it in this spot?
It'll be talked about.
Exactly.
But
that's what gets it going. I mean, that's what gets it going.
McCaffrey didn't win it last year. You know what I mean?
Who knows? But McCaffrey not winning it last year could have, put a dent in the glass ceiling. Maybe Saquon breaks through it. I'm just saying, when you do that,
you're right. If he ever had a chance, it's because he did what he did tonight on national stage.
I mean, he had more yards tonight than the Giants had in their entire game. Think about that. It's absurd. And I'm pretty sure it was Drew from Westchester that brought this up on the radio show. But as of right now, Saquon Barkley is on pace to break the NFL single season rushing record. And I know he has an extra game and all that, but hey, the record's the record, man. It is what it is. And this team, when Saquon runs the ball the way he does, they're almost unbeatable. They truly are. And we'll talk about Saquon obviously a bunch here, but to get just our initial thoughts about all this, the defense was awesome too. They had two really bad drives to start, no question about it. But after that, they gave up 3 total yards in the next 3 drives.
And they got banged up. They fought through losing Sweat. Obviously BG was late and, that's concerning, but Slay went down. They lost, dude.
For sure. So I just thought overall tonight, it wasn't perfect. Definitely wasn't perfect. But you know what? It was pretty close. Like for going into I wouldn't even call it a hostile environment, but you're on the road. It's basically a home game, but you're on the road. A team that really needs it. A team that honestly, like coming into the game in the stadium, I was a little more nervous about it than I was throughout the week. Not because like Rams fans were electric or anything like that, but you just the Rams really needed it. Like they really needed it. And the Eagles, for the most part, outside of that first maybe 10 minutes, like really controlled the game. There were definitely some interesting Sirianni decisions there at the end of the first half, which we'll talk about. But I thought like the biggest compliment I can give this team is like midway through the third quarter, I'm already like calling Saquon the player of the game in my graphic. I'm like getting my report card ready. Like once this team gets a big lead, look, maybe it'll happen. Who knows? I mean, it happened in the Super Bowl in 2022. But like once they get a big lead, I just have such supreme confidence that they're going to win the game. And I think it's because the defense is awesome. Saquon has such an ability to kill clock.
Yeah.
And they kill clock like it's nothing. I mean, the game tonight was 3 hours and 13 minutes. Like, it's just crazy to me how, like, because of how much they run it, like these games fly by. And then Jalen tonight, look, he had a few throws I think he definitely would want back. But didn't put the ball in harm's way as far as I can remember right off the top of my head. Like, again, took care of the ball, no turnovers. I thought he made a few big plays. His touchdown throw to AJ was really nice. Like, it was just, I started to say this on the last like post game pod, but it's starting to remind me of 2022, just in the way that when we watch this team and then made you do the post game pod, there's just really not much to pick at. Like it's no longer measuring them. You think about this season. When the season started, it was measuring them against the collapse last year. And then we measured them against like, can they pull it together? Are they going to fall apart? And then we measured them against, okay, are they a good team or are they going to be a playoff team? And now it looks like they're going to play the press conference over the loudspeaker. Now we are measuring them up against whether or not they can win the Super Bowl. That is it. Like that is the bar.
No doubt.
The team that we watched tonight is a team that is on their way to a showdown with Detroit. And we'll see if it gets there. I think it will. But that is what I'm measuring them up against.
Yeah, they're one of the four teams, like we said, that should be put above everybody else as the likeliest Super Bowl candidate or Super Bowl champs, like without a doubt, like clearly. And to your point, look, they've recovered from last year. They're freaking awesome. And to your point about them when they're ahead, and if you can you mute, yeah, there we go, perfect. They when they're ahead, it's like there's a reason that it's like a cliche, running in defense wins in the playoffs in cold weather, because it does, like, because that's how you freaking win throughout the history of football. And they're elite at that, elite. And to your point as well, they should be considered, a Super Bowl favorite, and we should expect them to win the Super Bowl, or at least, expect them to be one of the final four teams left, and we'll see what happens. And, dude, Saquon, this is funny because I was going to say this stat when you're going through them. Our producer, Tucker Bagley, who is wearing super sexy glasses right now. You can't see him, but trust me, there it is. I mean, look at that. You can't stay up there because we can't concentrate if we can't see him. But he tweeted out before Saquon's last long run that Saquon had already set a new career high for rushing yards in a season. And he's still got 6 games to go, 5 in the old school format. Like, it's unbelievable seeing him in a high powered offense, especially and Jalen, to your point, I think did another really nice job where he missed some throws that he probably wanted, but made some big plays with his legs, orchestrated the offense enough and let everyone shine enough, and made some great calls against the blitz and spots. He did what he's supposed to do. He's consistently steered this team towards victory with what he's done, especially the way this team is designed. And look, you come into this game, you say, all right, what are the 3 best things we have going for us offensively? Our offensive line, Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown. Bang, you win.
Yeah, So I think this commenter Barreled is making an outstanding point. So I wanted to give him a shout out. Like Saquon was awesome, no question about it. The offensive line for this team
Yeah,
is
that's
simply
why I mentioned
unbelievable.
them. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
we went into this game, or at least I did, feeling like the biggest potential problem with this game was that the Rams' defensive line is good. They have 4 guys that had 30+ hurries on the season. Like Jared Verse, while he's not defensive rookie of the year, has had a great year. Byron Young, like all these guys, and they
I
had a
see what you
few.
did there.
You like that? They had a few moments tonight, but for the most part,
They got pressure
they got
early.
pressure. They got
Yeah.
pressure early, but for the most part, I thought the line was really good in pass protection, and it shouldn't, be overstated. I know it's not, but like the reason this team is so good running the ball is obviously Saquon, but it starts with the offensive line. Like
Mhm.
Saquon, we've seen Saquon with a bad offensive line. No running back can be great with a bad offensive line. What Saquon's been able to do is take a great offensive line and take it to the next level. But like Cam Jurgens had some sick block tonight. Landon Dickerson had some sick moments. Again, Lane, like would he be able to shut down Byron Young? He basically did. Like I thought the offensive line really dominated. And what I think has been so important, we talk so much about this team as a running team, right? But since the bye week, I think a difference with this team, man, is like they push into people instead of like stepping back and like
Yeah, they're physical
they're
and they're
physical.
aggressive.
You saw it tonight. Like I know obviously the Landon Dickerson call was a bad call. It shouldn't have been a penalty. But like Landon Dickerson after the play is shoving somebody. CJ all the time after
They
plays,
have
just
an
standing over
edge.
people. They have an edge. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis today had to be held back from his teammates. I think it was after like a special teams play
Yep.
where he was going after people. And that is one thing that I think has changed. I was talking to really quick. I was talking to a pod listener last night, and shout out to all the pod listeners here. But like the difference with this Eagles team when they're a running team is they get to go into people. They're not stepping back. They get to go into people. And I think it's been such a mentality change for this team.
Yeah, well, I think even more, and it's a great point. I think even more importantly, this specific season in this specific conference, where look, you never know what's going to happen, but it certainly seems like there are two teams that are head and shoulders. Maybe Green Bay can play their way into it, but right now it feels like the Lions and the Eagles are a cut above everyone else in the conference, and it seems like we're probably headed for a collision course. And that Lions team, whatever you want to say about them, both the way they are built and the way they play mentality wise, are a physical, tough football team. And this Eagles team being that way and playing that way is going to be massive. It's going to be so important if they're going to especially go into Detroit, which, they really might have to, and like tough it up with that Lions team and Dan Campbell. You know what I mean?
Well, and I also think that, look, as painful as the collapse was and as unfun as the offseason was, they're better for it. Like, they are better for what they went through. They're better through having gone through that adversity. Like, last year I think they weren't having fun, but I think it was for a lot of reasons. This year, and I mean this to say like in a complimentary way, they're an angry football team. Like I feel like they feel they're going to get something that belongs to them, and that's the way they play. Every week they show up, they push the opponent around. The defense, which we can probably get to now, now that Sean McVay is done talking about how his team got smoked, but the defense is like. Again, what they give up 17 legit points tonight, 14 legit points tonight. Those last touchdowns you said is basically non-existent. Like Brandon Graham, who we'll talk about in a second, massive plays tonight. The sack, a big play against the run.
I mean, it's one of his best games ever as an Eagle, and he's
unbelievable.
36. It's unbelievable.
Josh Sweat, outstanding game tonight. Zach Bond, big pass breakup.
Nakobe
Dean, all over the place. CJ with the big hit.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. And like what I think, we talk a lot about the first quarter offense and how they struggle and how they make adjustments later in the game. This defense does too. Like this defense gave up, I think, 160 something yards or something like that on the first 2 drives. Yeah, I guess that's mathematically possible.
Going up against Stafford and McVay, no less.
Yes, then after that, 3 straight drives.
Adjustments wise.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure.
Going up against McVay and Stafford, no less.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one that says all the time, like quarterbacks that have seen it all have seen it all. Like that's why you say it about him. Stafford has probably seen it all. McVay at this point has probably seen mostly it all, and they were able like. This game changed over that 3-drive period where after the first 2 drives, the Rams were awesome. The defense held them to like 5 yards on one drive, 6 yards on another drive, and then -8 yards on the third drive. And during that span, the Eagles went from, I think they were trailing to winning, having the ball at half, at the start of the second half. Saquon gets his touchdown, and it's over, like donezo. At that point, the game was done. And yeah, I mean, this defense remains unbelievable. Like, I think the natural thing is to compare them to 2022. And I think you can argue the offense is better this year. We could have that debate, but there's no debate the defense is better. None.
Oh, yeah, this defense, I trust them so much more.
Well, the pass rush was better in 2022. Obviously, they had more sacks, but
yeah, but the back end is like light years better. It's
way, way better.
Now, to be fair, and Puka Nacua he's amazing. I don't know how that guy fell to the 5th round with how
it's
big
insane, yeah.
But Isaiah Rodgers definitely got his ass handed to him a little bit by
he struggled,
Puka.
Yeah.
So
but that's tough to come.
keep an eye on.
Tough
I'm just saying
in a game. Yeah,
are the thing to be concerned about with the depth there.
Right.
But I'm with you. This defense has been unbelievable.
So a couple things on the injuries. So one.
Yeah. So real quick. So let's list them real quick. BG.
All right. Let me
Sweat.
BG Sweat.
Slay was a concussion. BG and elbow. Now I didn't even notice it happening, but obviously there were all the tweets and whatever.
So I can tell you.
Yeah, tell me what happened there, because that was not awesome.
So BG comes off the field. It looks like he has like a dead arm almost the way he's walking. And maybe we'll find something out more in the locker rooms. By the time you're listening to this, maybe we'll have all the details. But he's on the sideline in obvious pain. The trainers are talking to him, still in some pain. And then Jalen comes over and hugs him for like 2 minutes and is talking to him. BG's like head is like on his, Hurts shoulder pads. And it's just not something you normally see with injuries unless the guy is seriously hurt. Now, if there's any positive here is that it's an elbow injury and not a knee injury and Achilles, like that type of thing. And look, at his age, bouncing back from anything will be tough, but for sure, like that was a concerning one. And BG's a really important player for this team, and it is crazy.
Dude,
like coming into the season,
yeah. At BG, and he's probably the most important. But BG, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, I mean, they're all super important, especially after the Huff injury.
And I think emotionally too. Like Brandon really brings a lot.
Well, that's why I think BG is the most important.
Yeah,
even though Sweat's probably better,
Well, and not to mention they're already missing Bryce Huff. So like if BG is going to be down, if he's going to be down for a few weeks, which we're just guessing, who knows, but like that's a big blow. Darius Slay. So I agree with you. Isaiah Rodgers struggled, and I know you weren't like going over top with it, but I would just say to those concerned, like it's a lot different to come into a game than it is to get the practice all week, right? And he's going up against a really, really good receiver in Puka Nacua.
Great receiver.
I would say that Darius Slay is likely not going to play next week. I think the percentage of players in the NFL this year that get a concussion and then play the following week are extremely slim. So he's probably out.
Sunday Night Football too.
He's probably out for the Baltimore game, I would think. Josh Sweat, I think will play. I saw him walking around on the sideline. I'm not super concerned about that one. I'm a little worried Devontae won't play. Just putting that out there. I think there's a shot Devontae won't be out of there.
Yeah, well, look at him playing night, so who knows?
But here's the good thing. They won this game tonight. Like, this is why you had to win this game tonight. And I'm not ruling out that they can beat Baltimore. They are a physical team. They're a talented team. They can go into any stadium and beat any team in the NFL. But I think next week's a tough one. But this is why it was a big win tonight, especially with Washington losing. So they pick up a game on them in the division.
Massive.
I don't know who the Lions have next week. I don't know if it's it might be the Bills. I'm not sure, but
I can check right now. They have the Bills there. They have the Bears next week. Thursday night, the Lions.
This Thursday. All right. So the Eagles.
Think the Lions have a tough end. They have like the Bears. Then
they have the Niners and the Vikings.
They have the Packers. Vikings.
Yep. Yeah. So they have a tough one. So that number 1 seed is still very, very much up for grabs. Even look at the Packers, how well they played today. So that Ravens game next week is definitely a tough one, but the Commanders aren't playing as good. The Steelers just lost to the Browns. Obviously, we know the Cowboys. I know they won today, but the Cowboys and Giants are basically cooked. Like, this was a big, big win tonight, especially with the tiebreaker. So, yeah, I mean, it's just impossible to watch this team and not think of anything but Super Bowl. It's just not like they're coached well.
Oh yeah,
they're playing great.
Especially like I was saying, like it does feel like there are a few teams that really do look, especially the two in the conference, that just look flat out better than the other teams they're competing with. I mean, this Rams team is like not bad. And again, like we said,
they needed it. They needed it so bad.
They needed Kyron Williams, Stafford, and Nacua and Cup, probably the best foursome in those spots that we faced yet this year. We talked about that as a group. I mean, McVay about as great an offensive mind as you're going to face. Like, and they went there and they kicked their asses, dude. Like, So yeah, like
Oh wait, we're getting a
think,
report. Brandon Graham down for the year. Hold on.
oh
This is a
no.
tweet. Brandon Graham has said he tore his triceps, out for the season.
Oh
That's
God.
devastating.
Oh man. Well, there we go. That's what we get for talking about the Super Bowl.
Uh that
Look,
just
we
well look, I just feel bad for Brandon there.
of course
Obviously,
we
we'll
love
talk
him.
about the implications of
Especially
it, but
like who knows, he was talking about having another season, but this is originally supposed to be his swan song, and
yeah,
who knows it. This that blows like that. Just
yeah,
that
yeah.
sucks. We love you, BG. Look, I mean, unbelievable career no matter what. And if
Dude,
perchance that was his last game, like we just said, one of the best games he's ever
it's a
played.
good
But
point. That's a good point. Yeah.
look, that sucks. Especially look, and they're gonna. I mean, that's a tough spot. Like they are down now in that area. But
Yep.
more than anything, to your point, that sucks for BG. So
Yeah, and look, maybe it can be a rallying cry for the team. Obviously BG is
look,
incredibly loved in that locker room.
we know that there's no injuries. Look, I don't think Kenny Pickett can win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, he's not Nick
Right.
Foles, but we saw with our own eyes that, like, honestly, there's no injury that you can't come back and win the Super Bowl from.
Agreed.
When Carson went down, I've never felt more like an injury had guaranteed we wouldn't win the Super Bowl, and we did. So,
Agreed.
but it just sucks. This blows. All right, we got a lot to get into, but I know you got to go because we went long with this.
Yeah.
We'll get into the Sirianni decisions and all that stuff during the week. And obviously more reaction to the BG thing. That is just a huge bummer, but big win, and they're gonna have to plug forward. Obviously, they haven't been hurt too bad by injuries this season. It's starting to catch
Yeah,
up.
this will be the test. But look, that's the BG thing aside. That's the benefit of having 9 wins. Is like you get a little bit of wiggle room in the division, and then obviously the conference. So yeah, sad news to end the pod with, but still an outstanding win and a really good performance.
Yep. All right, we love you, BG. Thinking about you, and to your point, Elliot. Do it for BG this year. This is should be a rallying cry. All right. We'll be back later in the week before Thanksgiving to talk a little more Eagles and get you set for Eagles Ravens, our trip. So we'll get
next week. Can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Get out of here, Elliot. We'll talk to everyone soon. 9-2, baby. All right. Go Birds. He's Elliot James.